You've seen them, right? Those incredible, mind-bending video clips made by AI? They're amazing, but let's be honest, they're just clips. A few seconds of magic and then they're gone. The real frontier, the holy grail, is getting an AI to create an entire, full-length movie. Well, today we're diving into something called Project Genesis, a new framework that might just be the breakthrough we've all been waiting for.
Okay, let's start with a number that'll make your jaw drop. $250 million. Just let that sink in for a second. What on earth could cost that much?
That's the price tag for the absolutely stunning animated series Arcane. And that just shows you the incredible cost and human effort it takes to create top-tier animation. We're talking hundreds of artists working for years. So that brings us to the big question. What if you could get that same level of amazing storytelling and visual magic, but with an AI system doing the heavy lifting? That's the dream, right? But first, there is a massive problem we need to solve.
All right, let's get into it. The first major hurdle is what you could call AI's movie-making problem. It's this huge gap between making a cool little video clip and telling a coherent story from start to finish.
So on one side, you've got these incredible models like Sora that can spit out breathtakingly realistic short videos. But a movie is so much more than a collection of cool shots, right? It needs a consistent story. It needs characters who don't change their clothes or face from one scene to the next. It needs a plot that actually makes sense. And right now, current AIs, they just can't hold it all together for that long.
And this core issue actually has a name: narrative drift. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when a character suddenly has a different shirt on, a room changes shape for no reason, or the plot just completely forgets what happened 2 scenes ago. This, right here, is the #1 reason we don't have AI-generated movies yet.
So, how do you solve a problem like narrative drift? Well, the researchers behind Project Genesis had a brilliant idea. They thought, hey, don't try to build a single AI artist. Instead, build an entire AI film crew.
And that brings us to Project Genesis. This isn't just another video generator. Nope, it's a whole framework of different agents specifically built to tackle this long-form storytelling problem head-on.
You know, the researchers said it perfectly themselves. The secret sauce isn't just a smarter AI painter, it's a smarter process. They literally modeled their system on how real movies get made, with a whole team of specialists who collaborate, critique, and keep making the work better.
So, let's meet the crew. Project Genesis is basically made of 3 specialized AI agents, and each one has a very specific job. You've got a writer, an artist, and a very, very picky critic. First up, you have the planning agent. Think of this one as the screenwriter. It uses a super powerful language model, LMF370B, to actually write the whole story. But here's the really clever bit. It uses something called a plot graph memory to keep track of every single character, location, and plot point. This ensures the story never, ever loses its way.
Next, we've got the visual agent. This is your director of photography and your special effects team all rolled into one. It takes the script from the planning agent and turns that text into actual video scenes, making sure the visual style and the characters look consistent from shot to shot.
And finally, and this part is absolutely crucial, you have the critic agent. This is like the producer or the editor who's watching over everyone's shoulder. It scans the script for plot holes, it checks the visuals for any weird inconsistencies, and if something isn't right, it sends it back with notes for a rewrite or a reshoot.
So you've got the crew. But what really makes this system work is how they all collaborate. It's not a simple assembly line. No, it's this dynamic, constant feedback loop.
Here's how that feedback loop actually works. The writer, the planning agent, writes a scene. Then the artist, the visual agent, creates the clip. But then, and here's the key, the critic agent reviews it. If it finds a plot hole, bam, the script goes back to the writer. If it spots a visual mistake, zoom, the clip goes back to the artist. This cycle of create, review, refine, create, review, refine, that's what stops narrative drift in its tracks and makes sure every single scene is up to snuff.
Okay, it sounds great in theory, but does it actually work? Well, the researchers put Project Genesis head-to-head with other state-of-the-art AI video models to see if this whole film crew idea really paid off. To do this, they actually had to invent a new way to measure success. They call it the Narrative Dice Score, or NDS. Basically, it's a score that tells you how well a story hangs together over time. A perfect score is 1, which means perfect consistency. A low score means you've got a serious case of that narrative drift we were talking about.
And wow, this chart just says it all. Your standard, top-of-the-line AI models, they scored a 0.32 on narrative coherence. Not great. But Project Genesis, it scored a 0.91. I mean, that is a massive leap forward. It's the difference between a random, jumbled mess of clips and a story that you can actually follow.
And if you look at the full data, the story gets even better. You can see here, Project Genesis just cleaned up across the board. Not just in that new NDS score, but also in image consistency, that's the ICS score. But maybe the most important number here is the human one. When real people were asked to rate how coherent the story was, they gave Project Genesis a 4.6 out of 5 compared to just 2.1 for the standard models. I mean, that's a night and day difference.
So the results are pretty clear. This system is a huge step forward in solving narrative drift. But does this mean we're about to see the next Hollywood revolution?
Well, let's keep a clear head about this. Project Genesis is a massive success at fixing narrative drift, but it's got its limitations. For one, it took 512 of the world's most powerful GPUs running for a solid month just to train it. That is a ton of computing power. And the creativity of the story is still fundamentally limited by the film scripts it learned from. But without a doubt, it is a powerful glimpse into the future of autonomous AI storytellers.
Which leaves us with one last, really fascinating question. We've seen AI master chess, we've seen it fold proteins, and now, maybe, it's starting to master the art of telling a coherent story. It might not be next year, but it really feels like it's no longer a question of if an AI can make a movie, but when. And what is that going to mean for the future of cinema?